Hey there, micro folks. This is Mr. Hooker, and this is Chapter 5 Price Controls and Quotas, messing with the market. All right, let's get to it. So, interference in the market comes with consequences. We're going to talk about rent controls, which are basically price ceilings, and then we'll talk about minimum wages and price supports, which are price floors. So these are the two main things in this chapter, and then we'll also look at quotas. So rent controls, mainly like New York. There's also some in Atlanta, Chicago, San Francisco. Affordable and available rental apartments hard to find in New York. The New York system works like this. If you're wondering, if you've never heard of it, seen it, whatever you pay for rent in your first month is what you pay for the remainder of your time in a rent control zone. So if in rent control zones like Border and Central Park, so I mean they're not all terrible, but it's really they really don't build new places in rent control zones. So this is why you have slumlords and stuff. It's kind of crazy. It has to be your primary residence. There's some wild stories. You have actors, musicians sometimes that will find some of those Central Park apartments and try to rent them, but they don't use it as their primary residence, and the residences in the other residents in the building will turn them in. They'll get evicted. They fight. Sometimes they fight eviction. That becomes a big story. It's kind of funny to me. It's just interesting. Um, so why does this happen? Um, so market prices don't necessarily please buyers or sellers. So, they could lobby the government to help them by altering the price. And remember that most of these people in Congress are not economists. And maybe they took an economics class. Maybe they paid attention, but they don't remember it very well. So price controls are just legal restrictions on how high or low a market price may go. The two main types are price ceilings, which is for maximum price sellers are allowed to charge for a good or service. For it to be effective, it has to be below equilibrium. Price floor is the minimum price buyers are required to pay for a good or service. And for it to be effective, it has to be set above equilibrium. So, a really simple thing. It's the rules of the room are in effect, but the room has to be upside down. If you consider equilibrium like the middle of the room, the ceiling has to be below that, and the floor has to be above that. Okay, so here we go. This is your apartments. So equilibrium is sitting there at 1,000 with 2 million demanded, 2 million supplied. Um, Market rent of 1,000, 2 million apartments, right? Um, so we're going to put a price ceiling in at 800. At 800, there are 2.2 million apartments demanded, but only 1.8 million apartments supplied. This creates a shortage of 400,000 apartments. Um, and so that's a problem in the way that that works. Now, how do we get around that shortage? Some people are just going to bribe landlords. They're just going to put extra money in it and say, hey, I know that the rent's 800, but I'll pay you, and they'll pay some number between 800 and 1,000, right? So I'll pay you an extra $100 if you'll give me the apartment. And so that's the way that works out. It's illegal, but hey, and that's the idea of black markets. So these are the side effects: inefficiently low quantity, inefficient allocation to customers, wasted resources, inefficiently low quality, and the black markets. The low quantity, right here, like we said, um, under equilibrium, we'd be at 2 million apartments. But with the price ceiling, we're going to be at 1.8 million. That's all that's going to be supplied. That's where we're going to end up. We're going to end up with a dead weight loss. So If you think of that top point on the demand curve as A, the bottom point on the supply curve is B, you're going to have a dead weight loss triangle of AEB. Okay. So there you go. That shaded triangle. That is your dead weight loss triangle. So, and note that the dead weight loss triangle points toward the equilibrium point. So it's a triangle, it's an arrow, it points toward the equilibrium. So, inefficient allocation to the customers. So they lead to misallocation of apartments. People who badly need a place to live might not find one, but some apartments may be occupied with people with less urgent needs. Um, so under rent control, people usually get apartments through luck or personal connections. New York, people really just search through like the obituaries, things like that. They'll deal with people they know in the building, find out like if there's an open apartment, and as soon as they find out, they'll go and talk to the landlord and make a deal to get that apartment. So people expend money, effort, time to cope with the shortages. So back in '79, we had price controls on gas, which led to shortages, which forced millions of Americans to wait in line at gas stations for hours each week. So the way that worked, I don't know, I don't know how old your parents are. Somebody in your family may remember this one, but basically you got a rationing coupon and you had a day of the week that you could go. So you needed your coupon and um, you needed to go on your day. So you were either Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday kind of thing. And then you would go on your day and you would go with your coupon and you would get your gallons. And in the South, I lived in South Carolina at the time. I mean, I was only 9. Um, but you could only get 8 gallons. Um, and 8 gallons wasn't much back then. Like today, 8 gallons will take you a ways, but cars are much more fuel efficient now than they used to be. Back then, 8 gallons didn't take you very far. So that's the way that works or worked back then. So you'd wait in line for a while wherever you went. Um, so the opportunity cost of the time spent in the lines, the wages you couldn't earn while you were waiting in line, the leisure time not enjoyed, these all constituted wasted resources. And the problem for us where I was, like we lived 20 miles outside of town, like crap, just getting there was a waste of a gallon. Um, so all of that just creates missed opportunities. Um, Inefficiently low quality at the control price. Uh, Sellers have more customers than goods. So in a free market, this would be an opportunity to profit by raising prices. But when the prices are controlled, they can't raise prices. So they respond in two ways. They reduce the quality and reduce the service. So the landlords in rent controlled housing have no incentive to provide better conditions. And this is where you see the jokes and the movies and all that about slumlords. Um, you know, all comedy comes out of truth, ladies and gentlemen. So this is, it's funny because it's kind of true. Um, so shadow markets come up. So shadow markets, the market where goods or services are bought and sold illegally, either because they're prohibited or because the equilibrium price is illegal. So some tenants are willing to bribe landlords. So shadow markets encourage the disrespect for the law in general, worsen the position of those who are honest. They can diminish some of the inefficiencies, but in the end, society as a whole is made worse off. So winners and losers. Producers lose. Some lucky renters gain, and some unlucky but willing renters don't get a place at all. So here's what happens under normal conditions. There on the left, you got total surplus that looks good. We got rent control. We have deadweight loss. There's your consumer surplus. You see that it has moved down some, and there, and then producer surplus on the bottom. So producer surplus has fallen drastically. Consumer surplus has gone up a little, not really gone up, but there's a little bit of gain. But both of them have fallen with that deadweight loss. So the deadweight loss kills all of that. So why are there price ceilings? Because they do benefit some people. And those are the people that are better organized, the more vocal, than the people that get harmed by them. And the price ceiling's been in effect for a long time. Buyers don't have a realistic idea of what would happen without it. Like you don't know. Like you don't know what you got if you've never had it. You know what you don't have if you've never had it. Um, and then government officials don't understand supply and demand very well. This is so true. Uh, it's so bad. All right, so Venezuela's food shortages show how price controls disproportionately hurt the people they were designed to benefit. Um, so price floors. Now these have to be on above equilibrium, and then the price is going to bounce, bounce on the floor and then pop back up. So you're not going to go below the floor. You're not going to go above the ceiling. You're not going to go below the floor. So sometimes governments intervene to push market prices up instead of down. And so generous minimum wage in many European countries contributed to a high rate of unemployment and the flourishing of the illegal labor market. So that's the biggest example is the minimum wage. Second one, since we live here in an agricultural state, would be price supports for crops. So crop price supports would be another price floor. Um, so a price floor here, demand for butter, so basically we were roughly at one with a equilibrium of 10 million pounds. We're going to put a price floor in at $1.20. So that puts us at 9 million demanded and 12 million supplied. Um, so we have a butter surplus of 3 million pounds caused by the price floor. So the predictable side effects for price floors, deadweight loss, inefficient allocation of sales among the sellers, a waste of resources, inefficiently high quality. I know that sounds crazy stupid, but it's real. We'll get to it. And temptation to break the law by selling below the legal price. All right, so inefficiently low quantity. Price floor reduces the quantity demanded below the market equilibrium quantity and leads to a deadweight loss. So once again, the deadweight loss looks like an arrow and it's pointing toward the equilibrium, always. So inefficient allocation of cells amongst sellers. So price floors can lead to inefficient allocation of sales amongst sellers. Sellers who are willing to sell at the lowest price are unable to make the sales. Sales go to the sellers who are only willing to sell at the higher price. So one example is the two-tier labor market found in a lot of European countries. The high minimum wage led to the two-tiered system composed of the fortunates who had good jobs in the formal market and the rest who were locked out without any prospect of finding a good job. So wasted resources. So price floors encourage waste. To deal with the surplus generated by agricultural price floors, the U.S. government sometimes buys back the excess and donates or destroys it. We had this with U.S. aid just like a year ago. They completely destroyed a whole warehouse of food. Everybody was kind of upset about that, but this is one of the things they do on the regular basis. We're going to stop right there and I will pick up the rest of these in the next video. Y'all take care. We'll see you later.